तो
Yeah.
आज बहुत बड़ा जो हमारी वेरी मेन सेशन है, दैट इज खास बात. एंड थोड़ा आई एम लकी दैट आई एम गेटिंग लिटिल टाइम टू इंट्रोड्यूस आल्सो. हमने व्हेन वी वर स्टडीइंग इन स्कूल, सबने हिस्ट्री पढ़ा होगा. एवरीबडी न्यू अबाउट ब्रिटिश, हाउ दे केम एंड दे रूल्ड इंडिया. So we also know that when British came to India, they came as a company, and it was called British East India Company. और वो कंपनी ट्रेडिंग कंपनी थी, ट्रेडिंग करने आई थी, और slowly they started becoming political and they ruled India for so many years after that. So today we are actually going to be talking to a person who lives in London, and what's very interesting is that he has Mr. Sanjeev Mehta owns the East India Company. मतलब जो कंपनी इंडिया को रूल करती थी, आज एक इंडियन संजीव मेहता वो कंपनी खरीद लिया है. इट्स अ मैटर ऑफ सो मच ऑफ प्राइड. तो थोड़ा बहुत संजीव मेहता के बारे में. संजीव मेहता वाज बोर्न इन इंडिया एंड हिज फादर वाज इन द डायमंड बिजनेस. इन्होंने डायमंड बिजनेस, ज्वेलरी बिजनेस में इनिशियल इयर्स स्पेंड किया है. Then before the liberation, he went to UK, London, and there इन्होंने trading में बहुत काम किया है. He was sending steel to manufacturers in India, crude oil from Russia to Italy, and like this he was in different businesses, pharmaceutical business, also Hindustan Levers के जो products है, रशिया को इंपोर्ट एक्सपोर्ट होता था, वहां इंडिया से रशिया को एक्सपोर्ट करना, वो भी वो देखते थे. एंड देन इन द ईयर 2000 और 2000 के बाद he decided to buy this. There were several companies by the name of East India companies. So he bought all of them, and there were totally around 35 odd people from whom he bought. And incidentally, Mr. Sanjeev Mehta is a person whose personality is quoted in Wikipedia. इनका Wikipedia का पेज है, तो मैं वहां से ही पढ़ के कई चीज आपको बता रहा हूँ. तो ये जिस तरह से उन्होंने ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी खरीदा है, यूके में इतना इजी नहीं था. काफी छोटे छोटे कंपनी के नाम ईस्ट इंडिया होते थे, उन्होंने सबको खरीदा हुआ. देन ऑलमोस्ट 30-35 सेलर्स जिनके साथ ही had to interact and buy these things. So I think इनका जब अभी इंटरव्यू होगा, ये इसके बारे में थोड़ा क्लियरली बताएंगे, क्योंकि काफी कॉम्प्लिकेटेड मुझे लगा. बट जस्ट इमेजिन द पर्सन्स पेट्रियोटिज्म that wanting to buy that East India Company name which once ruled India and owning it, that itself is such a very मतलब रोंगटे खड़े हो जाते हैं. It is a matter of such pride. And so when Sunil Javeri ji said that Sanjeev Mehta is his friend, and he who owns the East India, इसका सिग्निफिकेंस मेरा तो दिल छू लिया पूरी तरह से. आई थिंक आप लोगों का भी रोंगटे खड़े हो जाएंगे कि जो हमने ऑलवेज वी हैव हर्ड दैट ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी हमारा मालिक हुआ करता था, आज एक इंडियन उसको रूल करता है, ऐसा लगता है कि हम ही उसको रूल करते हैं. तो मैं और एंड ऑल्सो इनका जो कंपनी है ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी, अभी वो इट इज इन लग्जरी रिटेल इन यूके, और आइकॉनिक ब्रांड, इकोनॉमिक टाइम्स ने अवार्ड किया था लोगों को आइकॉनिक ब्रांड. और अभी रिसेंटली 2 महीना पहले ये कंपनी को अवार्ड मिला है एज एन आइकॉनिक ब्रांड. और मिस्टर संजीव मेहता वाज स्पीकिंग एज अ की नोट स्पीकर इन दैट इकोनॉमिक टाइम्स इवेंट. सो और मैं आपके बीच में और मिस्टर संजीव मेहता और सुनील जवेरी के बीच में नहीं आना चाहता हूँ. आई डोंट हैव anything to introduce Mr. Sunil Javeri because ये तो हमारे साथ ही जुड़े हुए हैं. तो ये एक सेक्शन है खास बात with Mr. Bond जो हम हर पाठशाला में रखते हैं. तो without much ado, let me invite both the speakers, for the खास बात. One is Mr. Sanjeev Mehta, who is joining us from UK, and Sunil Javeri.
Good evening, Dharam sir. Namaste, Sat Shri Akal and Adab to all. Welcome, your host in those, Sunil Javeri, is welcoming you all. Also known as Mr. Bond in the mutual fund industry. मेरे family friends मेरे को सुनील जवेरी के नाम से जानते हैं. But the mutual fund industry, many do not know that my name is Sunil Javeri. They know me as Mr. Bond. I'm sure आपने काफी सारे मेरे interviews देखे हैं खास बात में. I have interviewed eminent people from different walks of life, different personalities, like the only lady CEO in the mutual fund industry, Ms. Radhika Gupta of Edelweiss. I have interviewed Mr. Abhinav Bindra. who is the gold medalist, the only Olympic gold medalist. I have interviewed Mr. Ramdev Agrawal, founder of Motilal Oswal. I've interviewed Mr. Komal Nahta, film critic. बहुत सारे लोगों को मैंने इंटरव्यू किया है. But today's interview for me is going to be special in many ways than one. The person I'm going to introduce to you today and I'm going to interview today, I have known him for the last 55 years out of my 60 years of existence on this planet. Yes, you heard me right. 55 साल से मैं उनको जानता हूँ. Since the day we started our school together in the nursery. Since then to nursery, school, college, and our paths diverged only when he went to London and I came to Delhi and now in Gurgaon to pursue our respective careers. Many know him as the business czar who has bought this iconic brand, the East India Company. But for me, he is Sanjeev Mehta, my childhood friend. We were three musketeers, me, Sanjeev and Madhav Mariwala in school. And we've spent a lot of good times together, good times, bad times, all हमने सब साथ में देखा है. So let me welcome Sanjeev on the dais first. Welcome, Sanjeev. If you can come on the spotlight, please.
Thank you, Sunil. That was
Good
very
evening, Sanjeev.
kind words of yours.
So, Sanjeev, before we actually start the conversation, I want to ask you a very serious question. You have been, interviewed by The Economist. You have been interviewed by Economic Times. You have been interviewed by many business channels. Did you, in your wildest dream, think that you will be once interviewed by Mr. Bond of the mutual fund industry?
No, I didn't expect Mr. Bond. I don't know, but Sunil, I didn't expect to interview and probably not come on the same dais with you. So
Yes, yes.
it's quite unique, probably fun. Let's see.
Absolutely. According to me, this is going to be iconic as far as I'm concerned, and this will remain with us forever.
It
So,
will.
Sanjeev, can you start the conversation? Because many people are waiting very, very eagerly to understand what you have achieved and how you have made billions of, Indians very, very proud. So, first question to me, to you, Sanjeev, is you are from a very wealthy family who are diamond merchants. आपने पूरा business छोड़ के, you can speak in English or in Hindi, whatever you're comfortable in. I will ask questions in Hindi also. आपने वो पूरा जो business छोड़ के, you went to an unknown destination like London on an unknown journey. So what prompted you to do that at that time?
You're going back now about more than 35 years.
Absolutely.
I remember a quote behind my father's desk in Mumbai. It said that the important thing in life is to be able to sacrifice what you are for what you could become.
Wow.
I suppose I followed that. I agree, I had a very privileged upbringing, being born in a successful business family in Mumbai. However, I saw quite limitation in building a global trading business out of India. Further, the diamond business is very personal. The professionalization of that business or that industry is quite challenging. Therefore, I could only earn in diamond profession, which is directly related to my input. The enterprise value, as you will understand, of the business would therefore be limited to what's on my balance sheet. That is, the net asset value would be the enterprise value. There is no PE multiple.
Correct.
All of these together led me to leave India and leave diamond business. That time, my wife's father had a successful international trading business out of India.
MJ Exports.
And he supported my idea of shifting my base to London and built an international trading house there.
Excellent. Sanjeev, how did you think of acquiring, first of all, East India Company and get into a brand business? Because it's a brand business finally at the end of the day. Was it like a trophy purchase for you? Was it an impulsive buy for you? Or was it actually a very well thought out, आपने बहुत सोच समझ के एक कंपनी को खरीदा था कि आपने ऐसे एक इम्पल्स पे खरीदा था कि इसको खरीद लेते हैं, उसके बाद देखेंगे आगे जाके क्या करेंगे इसका? What was the thought behind that?
I suppose I can answer it in from a few facets, few directions. Firstly, from a logical and rational mind, well before I even came across East India Company, I realized early on that to make a multiple of capital and to create serious wealth, one needs to be in either of the three ends of the business. Either it's a natural resource business, which is a mine or a mining asset or a land bank, or it should be a molecule or an algorithm or a patent of some form, or a consumer brand which carries its consumer eyeballs together. All else, that is manufacturing, distribution, retail, service sector, they all get into challenge with shrinking margins, with automation, with inefficiency of capital usage, and also consumer changing behaviors. As such, everything except these three is like being between a wall and a wallpaper.
Wow.
So now within even the owning a mine or a patent or a brand, I felt that owning the brand is probably the best thing. I say that because mining assets are depleting in nature. The more
जैसे
you
आप
mine,
gold mine की बात कर रहे हो, any of those kind of mines for the audience to understand.
sure, more you mine, less is left to mine,
Correct.
and the cost of mining increases as you mine more. When you look
Absolutely.
at patents or molecules, the lifespan is only 20 years, and also only till such time a new software or a drug is invented. But the brand is quite unique as an asset class. The more you mine, the more is left to mine, and the value increases by its usage and its consumption.
Absolutely.
Also, it's a perpetual asset in nature. So if you look at the balance sheets of the last 100 years of Fortune 500 companies, you will see a delta between the net asset value and the market cap is widening every year.
Correct.
This delta represents its intangible asset, which is in a way its ability to create new customers and retain its existing customers. This substantially is caused by brand power. So I always had a desire and ambition to build a brand. Having said all that, when I came across shareholders of the East India Company before I bought them, and I realized that such a company exists, I think it was an emotional decision.
That's what I thought so to start with.
I straight bought it from my heart. It was a substantial money to buy the first 21% stake, and I had to take the decision pretty much across the table. I did that, and I suppose afterwards my mind started sieving through what would that really mean, what's the business model, and how will I unfold this decision out of heart and to rationalize that to make a commerce out of it. So I suppose it is a decision out of heart, specifically to buy the EIC. I think having said this, Sunil, I have a question for you.
Sure.
If you permit.
Yes, of course.
You too are building a brand. You call yourself Mr. Bond, which is quite sexist, not Mrs. Bond. But, and why do you say yourself Bond? It'll be fun for me to understand. Never questioned you on that.
Yeah. Good. You asked me because you cannot build a brand by calling yourself XYZ. Like I've been called now Mr. Bond. ये मैंने खुद नाम नहीं लिया था. This was given to me by one of the founders of a wealth forum, eZine magazine, where all the mutual fund distributors are part and parcel of that. So if you remember, my history was I was only managing treasuries of corporates, banks, and institutions. So to say, I was a debt specialist. So Bond, Mr. Bond, as in bonds and stocks, and that's how this name was given to me. Anything to do with debt in the mutual fund industry. The first question was to Sunil Jhaveri at that time. So he was not Mr. Bond, but he was Sunil Jhaveri. And this gentleman, Vijay Venkatraman, gave me a column to write Mr. Bond Speaks. then my younger son actually gave me an idea that since this is a nice name, why don't we look for a domain name? And that's how I got the domain. Then that name stuck with me, though I'm not only into the dead space anymore, but that's how it has happened. And that's how we are building the brand. So, you can't call yourself an authority. It has to be somebody else who talks to you and says he is the authority, and let him speak on this particular subject. If I was to call myself an authority, nobody would have believed me. And this brand would not have been built the way it is building. Thank you. Thank you for asking that question, because, that clarification is very important from others' point of view. Now, coming back to the same question, you bought East India Company. You need a lot of passion and persistence to build a business and a brand, both. But there was a negative connotation as far as East India Company name itself is concerned, और उसका जो history जो थी इंडिया में, उसका जो एक negative impact था और negative name का brand का impact था. How did you think about, first of all, taking a brand like that? As you rightly said, it was from the heart. And how did you convert this into a positive image globally?
I suppose I can. There are two parts of your question. I'll address each separately. The first part of your question is what do you need apart from passion and persistence? I would say that what I always learned from my mother, that many can have passion and perseverance. They could last for a short time, but they will then wither away. But without prayers and patience, one could not reach anywhere. So I would say that one needs all 4 P's: passion, perseverance, patience, and prayers. And all 4 are required concurrently, consistently, to remain focused on any profession, activity, vocation, to kind of reach the other end of the black hole. Coming to your other question, what would an Indian do if he is walking on the streets of London and stumbles upon a piece of rock which he picks up, and it's called the East India Company?
Wow.
I don't think anybody would not buy it.
Correct.
I think knowing the history of the company, knowing the fact that I'm born in Bombay, studied the same school and college with you, reading about the history, when an opportunity that came to buy the company which once owned us, there was not a question about any rationality. So, and from a financial perspective, both from economical perspective, this is a game changer for a brand equity, apart from it being a personal joy. Knowing that you have all the audiences who are in financial industry, I would say that if $1 million was to move from the liability side of the balance sheet to the asset side of the balance sheet, the impact is not of $1 million, but it's of $2 million.
Double. Absolutely.
That is precisely what happened when we bought the East India Company from the English ownership in 2005. The company which once owned India is now owned by an Indian, has brought pride, more joy, and a disproportionate opportunity to create a business which is based without any distinction of caste, creed, or where you came from, and take the good forward of the company and leave the bad behind. We are all human beings by nature, is an evolving person. We once lived in caves. We do not live there anymore. We evolve over time. We take the good forward and leave bad behind. So does any institution, whether it's companies or businesses or nations. Therefore, we in this generation are also taking the good forward of AIC and leaving the bad behind.
Wow, very nicely put. I'm sure you need knowledge domain. You know, this was absolutely new for you. ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी ने क्या किया था, कौन से ट्रेड किए थे, which all countries did they have those trade routes, etc. How did you acquire this knowledge? Because this is an integral part of success of a business, to know the business in and out. So what did you do? Did you take a sabbatical? Did you take a couple of years to understand what you had got in yourself into, and then take the journey forward?
So, unlike you, Sunil, you studied chartered accountancy.
Yes.
Fortunately for me, I did not have much formal education. I did
You're
my
a commerce graduate, which is good enough.
Yeah, post Sydenham graduation in Bombay, I joined the School of Life, joined business. I remained merchants all my life, dealt in many commodities in many parts of the world. I suppose I was getting ready to, I am probably worthy to own the East India Company over that years of learning. To understand the brand of EIC, which we are trying to carve out of its history, I decided I need to live and feel the life of an East India man. So I decided to take, yes, you're right. I took about.
Yeah, tell me a little more in detail as to what all you did.
I took.
This is an interesting part of your, East India Company journey, according to me.
I try. I think I took about just under 18 months of sabbatical from the active business that I was having that time.
Wow.
I traveled most parts of the world where EIC ever set foot. I went to Afghanistan, I went to Kabul twice, I went to Boston, I went to Cape Town, I went to Malaysia. I visited many museums, met many curators, heard them, listened to them, read whatever came on my way on the history of the company. Then I met many brand designers, branding consulting companies, to understand how do we carve this. Most brands are created by a designer like a Versace or Valentino. Unlike them, EIC was born out of the history. It is a condensation of the merchant spirit of last 400 years. So only way to learn of the domain was to try to live a life of a man as if he has been 400 years old, traveled across the world, dealt with many products, but still is young and merchant at heart. And that is the only way I thought and I did build the domain knowledge of this brand and its history.
What are the products currently? Because, the viewers are extremely curious to know what is East India Company in its current format. What does it do?
To early on, after we bought the business, I realized that the greatest asset that we have was its folklore. So if you can imagine that the seas of the world were controlled by East India Company. And if we could listen to the waters and listen to the waves, they will tell us a story. These stories were embedded or beached on the lands across the world. Over the years, this became like a sedimentary rock, and it had its own unique expression. This folklore became a lifestyle, and this lifestyle has become a brand. So we first decided that we must own the history and the copy matter related to history. So we started a book publishing business, and we decided to publish books on several aspects of East India Company. And resulting out of that, we effectively owned all the copyrights of its content and images, which is very
all the original
important.
Copyrights of the erstwhile East India Company, everything.
Yes, and it gave us the connectivity with all the museums across the world who own artifacts, objects of East India Company, manuscripts, certificates, watercolors, lithographs, so on and so forth. Because all of those stories are necessary for us retail storytelling. Product needs to have expression, it has life of its own. And we needed to own the copy matter once and for all. So we did that. Having finished and built the bedrock of that content, we went back to the history. In 1600, when the company was formed by the Charter of Queen Elizabeth I, the merchants of East India Company, were primary objective of their business was to bring the exotic food from the east to the west. So we also decided to do the same thing and follow the course of history. We started from teas and spices, cocoa and coffee. We started from launching fine food business to begin with. We recruited tea masters, we recruited coffee experts, we recruited chocolatiers all in London, set up a tea tasting facilities, blending facilities, and thereafter we started a flagship store in London.
It's a beautiful flagship store which you've created.
Thank you. If you then remember that all of spices and teas and cocoa was paid at that time by a global currency, which was called gold and silver. So we said, let us again follow the course of nature and history. We launched our bullion business and we started trading gold and silver. We started minting coins. Fortunately, we had inherited as a part of acquisition all the hallmarks and the designs of the coins of the British Empire.
Wow.
We went to the British Treasury and Ministry of Finance here to allow us the right to issue our own currency. So you need to remember that East India Company was a company in UK, but a country outside. And after much negotiation in 2012, we obtained the rights back to issue our own legal tender, very much like a currency of a country.
So currently you are
gold, you don't pay VAT. And we launched coin like Cougarand of the South African government or the sovereign of the Britain. We launched East India Company, Moher and Guinea for the collectors and investors across the world. And that has become a sizable business for us.
Wow.
The food business on its own started going towards homeware, tableware, and accessories. We then set up an F&B business and set up tea parlors. And over the years, that has now started going into table textiles. And our ambition is to get into fashion accessories based on the EIC textile history, and the jewelry business, the fine jewelry business based on the trading history of its diamonds and precious stones. So in summary,
limited edition coins bhi nikale the 60th year of Queen's.
Yes. So we got the right from Buckingham Palace, the present Queen, to issue the coins when her 60th celebration was there for her reign in 2012. The British government and the present Queen gave us the right to produce coins to celebrate that occasion. So we decided to produce the most expensive coin the world has ever seen that time. We produced.
What was the cost, if I may know, or if the viewers may know? Each coin was worth how much?
Let me express to you the coin. So we did 60, because of 60 anniversary, we did 60 gold coins. One side, the seal of the East India Company, and the other side, the effigy or the face of the present Queen. And we studied that 1 kilogram of gold, each coin.
1 kilogram of gold, each coin?
Each coin. And we studied that with 2 carats of diamonds. We minted the coin in the Royal Mint of England, which makes the coins for the government, the circulating coins. We thought that the jewel in the crown was India. So we shipped the coin physically to India. We set the diamonds cut and polished in Surat, and we brought the coins back to London and sold it in UK market. We sold it for 100
edition coins, 60 coins.
1.2 crores
each
per coin.
Wow.
And I think it was fun. It was a story of the company embedded with the brand.
Yes.
So, presently, I would say that just to answer your question, we have 2 overall directions of the company. One, I would call it collectibles, and the other is consumables. Collectibles are all those products which we call it then there, and consumable, which is all lifestyle products. It is what is here now, which is inspired collection. Our ambition is to grow both the areas of the business, build a lifestyle brand which is based on craft, and engage with the customers to make customers a part of our journey partners, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I've seen, I've consumed a lot of your products also, which includes chocolates and jams and biscuits and teas and coffees. Amazing stuff. You have to be a good learner, which you already are. I mean, all of us know because you were a good student also at that time in school, and we used to compete on that. Having said that, in the last 2 years, what have you learned during this pandemic period? और आपने क्या बदलाव लाए हैं अपने बिजनेस में to survive, because you are in a super luxury brand products, so that will be the last on the minds of anybody to even consume or buy. So I'm sure you must have faced a lot of problems during these last 2 years. How did you adapt to these changes? What changes you made to your own business model, and how are you taking this forward?
Funny that you asked this. Yes, we all need mentors in our business. Mentors doesn't necessarily mean elders or gurus. Mentors can come as guides in your life from a variety of places, including
including your own experience.
including your young generation.
Yes.
So, and COVID was quite unique, but so was the journey before. In my case, I would say to an extent, my son and my wife were mentors who kind of directed and possibly became my conscious compass.
Wow.
I remember when I was wanting to launch leather goods business, and I had in fact started looking at collection, designing, started sampling. My son told me quite categorically that these are against our Jain values. We should not be earning out of leather business. I still continued to explore the possibilities, and finally I got an ultimatum from him saying that if you do that, I will never be part of your business. And in a way, so he kind of became my mentor to keep my sense of morality in place.
Wow.
And I suppose all men here would say that your wife keeps you grounded.
Which we know.
Every time I felt proud of my achievements and I was about to boast when I come back home, she will bring me back to my sense, and it's like taking tire out of the air, air out of the tire. I suppose made me realize where I came from and what's important in life. The other people who came in my journey, I suppose, are also my shareholders. Both were very reflective and provided a lot of support and guidance. Mahindra Group from India.
So Mr. Anand Mahindra has personally invested in your company, I believe.
No, Mahindra and Mahindra PLC has invested money.
Okay.
And Lulu Group from Abu Dhabi and their leadership has constantly provided me with guidance, but also governance. Early on, Mahindra joined us in this journey, and therefore governance and transparency pretty much became part of a company culture. And learning on supply chain and retail, which we never knew much of, is really where Lulu helped us a lot.
Lulu is a chain store in...
yeah, they're about $10-12 billion largest food retailer
supermarkets
of the Gulf, and Gulf and Indonesia and Malaysia. So I would say that whoever, good or bad, whoever comes in our lives journey does teach us something, provided you have a mindset to listen to the message that they are trying to give us.
So
as
keep
far as the time of COVID
mind.
is concerned, Sunil, I think the business which was shifting, I would call it marginally towards digitization, has transformally moved to digitization. And we made aggressive steps to build e-commerce business. Fortunately for us, our business, both in terms of products, consumer acceptance and brand reach, were already global in nature. Shipping food products or packaged food products or gold and silver, they are both same whether you are a consumer in San Francisco or Yokohama, you both consume Darjeeling tea and Assam tea same way. So we had the same goods which we would sell worldwide. Globalization, digitization allowed us to do that. Website, e-commerce, digital strategy were therefore our primary focus during COVID time. All the business were logistically capable to be managed globally from single door. But more interestingly, also brand was very well known. So consumer behavior pattern for our products, our brand awareness, and ability to reach globally through e-commerce really became quite useful for us, though that was not early on intended. The digitization was pushed on us by the COVID.
On all of us.
It became a blessing in disguise.
Absolutely, on all of us.
Substantially blessing in disguise. Our revenues skyrocketed. We never knew such an opportunity exist for us. And I suppose in a way it was a positive thing to happen.
So a lot of cost cutting is what you would have done?
Yeah, of course, we recircled, swing the model around. We closed some of our retail shops. We converted our retail shops more experiential. Our retail shops have more become expositions, customer and brand centric, more in terms of trial and tasting our products, more into bespoke and customization of our products. And the regular purchase, repeat purchase, self-indulgence completely moved to e-commerce business. So both, I would say, became a true omni-channel business with share of databases. So we integrated our companies, integrated our business. We integrated all our offices worldwide from a single database as a source. So yes, we of course had to, push the strategy fast forward.
Why I ask this question, Sanjeev, is that, all of us, including the mutual fund distribution community, the mutual fund business, everybody had been affected, but everyone had to change and adapt. So the message which we are getting from you is that you had to change and adapt to changing circumstances. जो आप circumstances के हिसाब से आप नहीं चलोगे, तो I think you will be left behind.
Darwin has said very interesting thing, that it is not the strong and intelligent who survives, it is the adaptable who survives.
Wow.
So I suppose we don't see dinosaurs walking around the street, but probably we see lizards walking around. So I think it is just a question of ability to understand the winds that are about to blow and be careful about it, when to rise and when to duck.
बहुत ही important एक question पूछने वाला हूँ संजीव आपसे. There was a era in the history books which is the British Raj rule of India, of the East India Company. 100 years के बाद एक हिस्ट्री रिपीट और लिखी जाएगी ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी के चैप्टर के बारे में, जहां संजीव मेहता विल बी पार्ट ऑफ दैट ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी हिस्ट्री. हाउ वुड यू लाइक दैट हिस्ट्री टू बी रिटन and what legacy you think you will leave behind in the East India Company annals as far as your contribution and your vision is concerned, taking this company forward? It's a fact, right? East India Company हमने history में पढ़ी है in the British rule. I'm sure 100 years के बाद भी East India Company का नाम गिना जाएगा, in the history books again, तो जहां पर संजीव मेहता का नाम जरूर होएगा.
I don't have much to say on this, to be very honest. I prefer to live in the present and take.
कुछ तो विजन होएगा जो आप छोड़ के जाना चाहते हो, the legacy which you want to leave behind.
As I said, I just prefer to live in the present and take a day as it comes. I know for a fact that I haven't created East India Company. I'm just passing through the life of EIC for this generation. Someone else will take the baton and build it from where I've left. But the most important thing for me is that I'm actually enjoying every day working and building EIC. In a funny way, the journey itself is my destination.
Wow.
I suppose that this doesn't answer your question the way you expected it to be, but that is what it is.
Viewers would have loved to have your vision and your goals going forward, to know that.
I suppose
Sanjay, your parting thoughts.
Your
parting thoughts. What would you like to tell the audience? We are almost 350 plus audience right now as we speak. So you've been very gracious in, first of all, accepting our invitation. And this, according to me, will remain, in my opinion, one of my most favorite interviews I have conducted.
Thanks, Sunil. You've been very kind, and thanks for all the audiences to listen. I think I don't have some fundamental parting thoughts, but I wish one day, East India Company was started in 1600, was I would call nationalized in 1874. Queen Victoria nationalized the company. She converted effectively the East India Company into what we call the Commonwealth. She became the Empress of India and the head of Commonwealth. And the Commonwealth in a form has continued till date. The brand was born in the English-speaking world, and now its reflection is in Commonwealth. So if I divide the word Commonwealth into two words, the Commonwealth, it will be fantastic if it one day EIC can go into public market, and all the people who are listening, probably the mutual funds and in India and other parts of the Commonwealth,
They can be co-owners.
Then I suppose the circle of life will get completed.
Wow,
No
absolutely.
individual will be able to influence the acts of the company. And once again, it will become, East India Company was the first joint stock company, the first listed company on the London Stock Exchange, and the first joint stock company of England, or probably the world. So it will be nice to pull that back somewhere in this or next lifetime of somebody. But
So finally, you've given your vision.
well, it is not a vision in terms of operation, but it is nice to see that it can be Commonwealth in true sense. It is an interesting brand, and I'm having fun with it.
Great, great. All the best for future journey for East India Company. I would like to welcome Dharam sir. He would like to ask a few questions maybe. Dharam sir?
Yeah, I just hope I did a fair introduction of yours. The part of what I read in Wikipedia, it confused me a bit about how you acquired so many small companies, and there were some 35 people with whom you had to interact. What was all that about? I mean, how was it a very difficult? It appears that you put effort for a couple of years to really get everything under control.
Yeah, I mean, it was expensive effort, to be honest. It took 18 months, just about 18 months, 19 months to buy all the shareholders. It was a private company, so it makes it difficult because unlike in public company acquisitions, you can buy a substantial minority and therefore you can get a board control. But in a private company, that's challenging, and the minority right protections can be challenging. So I had to reposition the brand and to do what I wanted to do with the business. I had to buy 100% because that brand equity lies in having 100% and not less than 100%. So I was pretty stubborn, I would say. I had money in my bank account. I had time at my disposal. I just singularly followed one thing, focused, and every shareholder who was there that time in the company learned everything about the person whom I was to buy shares from, understood the right time to negotiate the deal. I suppose God was kind that I could negotiate with each of them, pay them the money, and buy the shares. It was as straightforward and as focused as that.
बहुत simple लग रहा है ना धर्म sir?
No, there's one more very interesting part that I read, that after he took 1 year's break from his business and spent 1 year, I think, figuring out what the heritage of East India Company is. So now that's again very interesting. So could you throw some light on that?
As I explained earlier, East India Company, presently the name recognition is over 2.5 billion people across the world. So that's a very large part of the present landmass. It took a long time to go to the right cities and see the museums. because it's a Indian looks at East India Company in a different way than an Australian or a Bostonian or a British or a man from Trinidad or a Brisbane. So East India Company is seen they have different stories, different connectivity, different engagement with each of these people across the world. Unless I understand that, I will not understand the diaspora of my consumers of tomorrow. And I would
Right.
not understand where lies the brand. And Borneo was owned by India, so was Brunei for that matter. Malaysia was the capital of East India Company in the East, and Boston was the headquarters of East India Company in the United States. So the reach, the geographical spread, the time spread from 1600 right up to 1874, that was a physical presence. Even in our minds, the EIC still exists. So its emotional presence, its tangible presence, as time stretch, its geographical stretch is pretty much across. We say the sun never sets on the British Empire, which is pretty much the empire which was built by EIC. So you have a very large canvas to learn and read and understand and absorb. And unless I do that collectively and focused way, I had to take a sabbatical. I had to drop everything else to just be, just listen quietly and read and travel. I suppose that's what I did.
Ironically, we have just completed a round of 1 month of understanding what is a personal brand, what is a
Branding.
brand. So I think
This whole month has been only about branding.
this is a very beautiful culmination for people to know, what is the significance of a brand. That even once you buy the brand, that is not enough. You still need to understand the perceptions of people around the world and travel and spend time. So why brands are valued so much and what it takes to build a brand, I think it's a beautiful culmination with this talk. And personally, I'm so proud that I'm talking to you. There's the entire feeling that East India one day conquered us, and we've grown up with all those stories. And today to talk to somebody who has had the courage and the vision and the deep desire to buy that company and now say, and your next idea was amazing. If it is a listed company, we should all buy shares of that company and collectively be owners of it. So I wish and I hope that
I'm into that.
this comes true. And
Absolutely.
we all own this share of. At
You
least
know, on the
one
chat
share.
box, I'm seeing lots and lots of feedback and the discussion which is going on. We are very proud of Mr. Mehta. Let me also share that I'm also very proud of your achievements.
Thank you, Sunil. I think mutually, I would say that it's a pleasure to be on the same dais as you. Never expected when we were 5 years old playing in kindergarten that we will be on the same screen.
In our 60th year.
Yes. I'm not 60, you are.
वो मेरे से 1 महीना बड़ा है, by the way. He's my big brother, so don't worry. Great, thank you so much. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for attending in such a big number. Thank you, Sanjeev, for coming all the way live from London. And it was really, really a pleasure speaking to you. And I'm sure it was not intended, but it just happened that in that month of branding, East India Company के brand के बारे में हमने बात करी है, and explain to the audience as to what is the importance of building a brand, and that can really surpass generations. So, it can be an ongoing business which you can convert and create also. Thank you.
सुनील जी, few seconds हम चाहेंगे आपसे एक मेमोरेबल.
Please, Vikas ji.
तो मेहता जी से रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा, seconds more, only few seconds.
Please. We are ahead of time, Vikas ji, so it's okay. We have time.
Sorry, I couldn't understand.
नहीं आप रोकिए, संजीव वेट कीजिए. Vikas wants to speak to you also.
I want to take a memorable picture, all of you, just a few seconds, and then fine.
Even I have taken that picture today.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, over to Sunil ji.
Something. We are very thankful that you are there on this dais and giving us pearls of wisdom. आपने बहुत अच्छे से बताया that change and adapt, that is the only strategy, and you are the living example of that. And you beautifully explained that journey itself is a destination. So we all are, हम सब मुसाफिर हैं और हम सबको ये डेस्टिनेशन जो है वो हमने तय किया है, but then we have to enjoy the journey. That was the beautiful message given by Mr. Mehta. मुझे एक इनके बारे में मैंने कुछ ज्यादा तो लिखना आता नहीं है, but then this is what I have tried that कि आन देश की शान देश की संतान है, 3 रंग में रंगा तिरंगा, अपनी ये पहचान है, and hats off to you, sir. You have made all of us proud and everybody is praising you for that. All prayers for EIC to go into public venture जल्द से जल्द हो जाए.
Thank you everybody.
Great, Hina ji. Lovely.